When is wheat not wheat? When it's buckwheat. I know. Similar name, similar look, heck, even similar use cases. Buckwheat and wheat are definitely not the same. In fact, a lot of you, especially those of you here in the United States, may not even be familiar with buckwheat, but it's definitely an ingredient that should be on your radar, especially if you're gluten-free. But even if you're not, buckwheat is an amazing thing to cook with. And today we're going to dive into buckwheat. I'm going to tell you all about what this is, and we're going to cook up some fabulous recipes with it. So let's do some Buckwheat 101. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And after watching this episode, you're going to know all about buckwheat. But let's start with the basics because maybe you're wondering, what is buckwheat? And to explain that, we'll start with what buckwheat isn't. So see, unlike wheat, corn, or rice, buckwheat isn't a cereal grain. In fact, buckwheat is known as a pseudocereal because, well, it acts like one of those grains, but technically it's not. Buckwheat, at least when we're talking about these things, are actually seeds. And they're seeds of a plant that's more closely related to rhubarb than it is, well, wheat or any of those other cereal grains that I mentioned. But like those other cereal grains, you can eat the seed of buckwheat, and people have for a long time. Buckwheat cultivation goes back at least 6,000 years, and it's thought to have first started in Southeast Asia. Now, buckwheat is still really popular in Asia and Europe, but if you're in the United States like me, it might be foreign to you. In fact, quick anecdote, when a friend asked what video I was working on this week and I mentioned buckwheat, they said, "Oh, the character from The Little Rascals?" Now, truth be told, I've never seen The Little Rascals, but apparently buckwheat was the name of a character, one of the kids on the show. We're not talking about that character, we're talking about the grain. Should I watch The Little Rascals, by the way? Again, I've never seen it. Is it a good show? But back to buckwheat, the food. Now, if you're shopping for this stuff, you're going to find it in two primary forms. You're going to find it in the seeds, which are also called groats, and you can also find it in flour form. And regarding the seeds, you can often find them either raw like this or toasted. And when they're toasted, they're sometimes called kasha. Now, as you can see, these whole grain seeds, or groats as they're also known, they have a very distinctive shape. It's this tetrahedral shape where there's several sides to it. So it's not just like round like a wheat berry is. They're very interesting looking, almost like little multi-pyramids. Now, if you're shopping for either buckwheat whole like this or buckwheat flour, you can usually find it in the baking section of your grocery store, or if your store has a well-stocked bulk bin aisle, you might find it there like I did at my local Winco. Now, I do have to say though, before shooting this video, I had a bit of a wild goose chase tracking this stuff down. I went to like 5 different stores and everybody was out of buckwheat. I ended up going to my local Fraser Farms and I did find it there, but just a heads up, at least at the time of filming this video, buckwheat's been a little bit hard to find, so you might have to order it online if it's not at your local store. As for pricing, at least here in America, buckwheat isn't vastly expensive, but neither is it as cheap as something like rice or oats or wheat flour. I think I paid about $6.50 for this bag right here, this 1-pound bag. So again, kind of, moderately expensive for what it is, but this isn't like saffron we're talking about. Now, similar to other unique ingredients we've covered on this channel, including teff, millet, and quinoa, buckwheat is gluten-free, which obviously makes it very different from ordinary wheat. It's also quite nutritious, especially when you use the whole seed, which packs fiber, vitamins, minerals, and some protein, and very little fat. Now, like other grains, buckwheat is shelf stable. You can store it in your pantry for a year or two in a well-sealed container, so it's easy to have on hand. But now you're probably wondering, what does this stuff taste like and how do you use it? Well, to me, buckwheat has kind of an assertive flavor. It's not as sharp as rye, but it's kind of earthy, almost like a brown rice or oats. And yes, you just saw me eating buckwheat raw. Can you do that? Well, let's get into it all. Here are 5 great ways to use buckwheat, and this is how it could be the star of your next recipe. Probably the easiest way to cook buckwheat and a great introduction is to simmer it, just like you would rice or oats. Simply use a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 parts liquid to 1 part buckwheat. Bring the liquid to a boil, put the buckwheat in, lower to a simmer and cover, and cook for about 10 or 15 minutes until all the liquid is absorbed, just like you would rice or oats. But with buckwheat, well, you can make it either savory or sweet. It's quite versatile that way. For a savory application, you can use something like stock. And for a sweeter one, you can use water and maybe a little bit of cream, and then you can doll it up when you're done with sweet things like syrup or honey, sugar, what have you. Buckwheat really can go either way. It can be savory or sweet, and it's really delicious served as either. So here's some steaming hot buckwheat. I cooked this just in some vegetable stock, and as you can see, it's kind of large and puffy here. It looks kind of like brown rice, but it's got its own unique shape here. And buckwheat it's just wholesome. I mean, again, it just tastes kind of like earthy. To me, I always just feel good after eating it. It's got kind of a nuttiness to it. And you can eat this as is, or you can add this to other things. You could add buckwheat groats that you cook here to salad. You could add it to soups. You could add it to fillings. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this, but even just kind of eaten plain out of a bowl, it's really good. An even easier way to cook and enjoy buckwheat is simply toasting the groats in a pan. Put a dry pan over medium heat, add the buckwheat groats, and cook and toss for about 5 minutes or until the groats take on a slightly darker color and the nuttiness, that beautiful aroma you can start to smell. When they are to your liking, simply enjoy them. You can eat them as is, or you can use buckwheat groats, now called kasha, remember, over a salad or as any type of garnish. They add a lovely crunch and a nice earthy flavor to just about anything you can imagine. So here's some pre-toasted buckwheat groats. Again, you can buy these in the store, and they're called kasha often, and they're really crunchy. They are, the flavor intensifies when you're cooking them. These are really good. And again, you can use these as is. You can eat them as a snack, or you can use them as a topping on something. Now, personally, I prefer toasting them myself. I think they taste fresher and just even more flavorful that way. But for an easy way to just kind of, try buckwheat, you can buy some kasha like this and go to town. What about eating buckwheat raw? Is that a smart thing to do? Well, technically you might be able to, but they're not very good raw. But they are good in what I will call a raw-ish application, and that's overnight buckwheat groats. Very similar to the way that you would make overnight oats. To make overnight buckwheat, simply put equal parts buckwheat groats and your choice of milk in a container. The milk can be dairy or non-dairy. I personally like almond milk for this application. You can also add berries if you like, and even a touch of sweetener. Give it a good stir, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and the next day you'll have overnight buckwheat groats. And here we are, we have our overnight buckwheat groats. As you can see, a lot of that almond milk has been absorbed, and now, it's just kind of ready for action. And the buckwheat groats, they've softened, some of that, kind of raw, harsh flavor has been taken away. And again, these taste really, really wholesome. The other day I had some of this along with my breakfast, and I was so full and satiated until way past lunch. Overnight buckwheat groats, super easy. Now, we can't talk about buckwheat without talking about buckwheat flour. And yes, this is simply grinded up buckwheat groats. You can make this yourself if you have a high-speed blender like a Vitamix. Simply put the groats in there and let it whiz up. Or you can buy this in a bag at the store. Really easy. Now, buckwheat flour you can use very similar to you would just wheat flour, for baking or cooking or whatnot. And we can't talk about buckwheat flour without talking about one of the best things you could make with it, blinis. I made these yesterday and oh my gosh, they are so good. Blinis are a specialty pancake that are actually yeast raised rather than using a chemical leavener like baking powder or baking soda. To make, you simply add equal parts buckwheat flour and all-purpose flour, or in my case, gluten-free flour, along with some sugar and salt. Then what you do is you heat up some milk and butter in a saucepan. You let it cool to between 105 and 115 degrees, then add the yeast. Then you simply combine the yeast and your buckwheat flour mixture, put it in a big bowl and put it in a warm place to proof. Here I'm using my Wolf oven. It has a nice proof feature. You let it do that for about an hour and it doubles in size. From there, you add some eggs, mix it all together, and you have blini batter. Now you go about making your blinis just as you would pancakes, putting dollops of batter on a hot griddle and then flipping when those bubbles appear. You will be rewarded with some of the best pancakes you've ever had that taste unlike any other pancakes you've ever had because they are yeast raised. There's almost like a sourdoughness to them. They are absolutely delicious, and here again, they can be enjoyed savory or sweet. And finally, we can't talk buckwheat without talking about soba. Soba are a type of noodles made with, you guessed it, buckwheat flour. And it can be a combination of buckwheat flour and wheat flour, or in this case, it's buckwheat flour and brown rice flour. But regardless of what it's made of, they're super easy to cook, and this is a great way to try buckwheat without, even buying buckwheat flour or the buckwheat groats. Just buy some soba noodles and you basically just cook them as you would any other type of pasta. Bring a pot of water to a boil, add the soba noodles, cook for about 7 minutes or whatever the package says, and they are cooked. Now, unlike, let's say, spaghetti that has a hot tomato sauce over it, you actually want to rinse the soba noodles and let them cool. Soba is best enjoyed cold along with a savory sauce, such as a dashi-based one. Like our other buckwheat treats, soba noodles, they have a nice earthiness to them. They just are, well, once again, there's that word, satisfying. So there you go. There's an introduction to buckwheat and 5 easy ways to enjoy it. Now I have to ask of you, do you like buckwheat? Has your family been making buckwheat recipes for generations? I want to know. Be sure to put that in the comments below. Now, if you've never had buckwheat before, I hope this inspires you to give it a try. You might not be familiar with it, but it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're gluten-free. It just opens up a whole new world of recipes for you. Be sure to give them a try, and again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this cone-shaped looking wooden thing, and several of you knew exactly what this is. Well, it's cone-shaped because that's what it's for making. It's for making cone pastries. You might recall in our pizzelle episode that if you take those finished pizzelles and you wrap it around this cone shape, well, you basically get an ice cream cone. You can do that with pizzelles or any of those European pastries that we all love. Congratulations to everybody who correctly identified this as a cone roller. Okay, for this week's culinary trivia, we're headed back to the produce aisle, and we've got a very gnarly looking thing here. I'll give you a hint. This is neither a cucumber nor is it a zucchini. What is this? If you know what this is or you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will of course let you know the correct answer in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.